Greetings. Have you ever been interested in the Warhammer lore, but didn't know where to start? Me neither, but it is safe to assume that it all should start with the introduction of the Old Ones. The Old Ones were an ancient, extremely intelligent, and near-omnipotent starfaring species, that may have been reptilian in nature. The Old Ones served as the mysterious shaping hand of the Warhammer's world. For the Old Ones were the designer of the world's current geography and climate, and creator of many of the world's sentient races. Which includes the Slann, Saurus, Skinks, Kroxigers, Elves, Dwarfs, Mankind, Ogres, Giants and Halflings. All of which was said to be created to combat the threat of chaos, a malign spiritual force which embodied the malevolent entities of the realm of chaos. The genesis of the Warhammer world is old. Very old. It is said that long before the time of the elves, even before the prevalence of magic, the world was dark and cold. Its surfaces was largely encased by thick sheets of ice, and titanic monsters roamed the land. These enormous creatures battled for dominance over the warmest regions. They were the brutish king of old, whose wisdom were mostly driven by instinct, and to survive, is to be strong. Into this brutal age, came a mysterious race of god-like beings, that plied the heavens in silvered ships. These strangers, known as the Old Ones, came from beyond the stars where they ruled an empire that spanned not just the cosmos, but time itself. Their technology was advanced beyond imagination. To them, astrology and astronomy, science and magic were all one and the same. Each world in the Old Ones' empire was linked by a gateway. Some were small portals, allowing an individual to travel inconceivable distances with a single step. Others, often situated in the cold void of space, were portals so large that vessels the size of moons could pass through. And in their travels across the endless expanse of the universe, the Old Ones came upon to this world, for they saw in it a unique and boundless potential. The Old Ones decreed that this world would be the central place in the divine plans, and set upon to reshape it to better fit their needs. Using powers beyond mortal comprehension, the Old Ones shifted the planet's orbit towards the warming sun. In time, the ice sheets melted, and verdant forests soon growing to cover over the newly revealed land. To further the divine's plan, the Old Ones created servants to tend to their needs. Thus was the first spawning of the Slann mage priests begun. They were the Grand Viziers, trusted creatures of prodigious intellect, and the only beings able to withstand direct contact with the near-omnipotent Old Ones, and comprehend their teachings. It was the Slann who were to guide the lesser races whose creation would soon follow. For upon the world, the Old Ones had encountered many primitive creatures, including those that would one day be transformed into elves, dwarfs and men. Powerful and far-sighted, the Old Ones could shape new life forms even from these imperfect materials. However, while many of these native beings were necessary, some creatures were simply incompatible with the Old Ones' divine plans. And as the climate warmed, the Saurus, first of the lizardman race, were created, and directed to destroy the other creatures that was the anomalies. Thus began this world's first war. The Old Ones were predominantly on the move around the cosmos, yet a systematic spawnings of Slann to administer, and an orderly, albeit brutal Saurus military campaigns of destruction, were proceedingly well in this world. By command of the Old Ones, the Slann established the rainforest temple cities in the region that would one day become Lustria. The Skinks were the technicians and the overseers. It was their role to direct the beasts of burden to haul and heft the heavy loads. In this manner, the lizardmen built fabulous structures that rose high above the steaming jungles. The Old Ones' instructions to the Slann were very specific, as to the locations where the temple cities, and the many other architectural wonders, were to be constructed across the globe. Each one was raised up purposefully to form a vital nexus in a world-spanning geomantic web. An interlinked matrix of natural earth energy that encompassed the planet. Each site was linked to the next, and the Old Ones were able to draw upon this vast reservoir of energy, to manipulate untold devices and enchantments of great power. The Slann mage priests were also able to tap into the geomantic web, and with its energies they could shift continents and further aid the divine's plans of the Old Ones. So long as each link remained connected, they could be used to telepathically communicate with one another over vast distances. By entering a trance, the mage priests could transmit pure thoughts and hold councils of communion. All was not well with the world, however. as distressing signs began to manifest outside the polar gates. For it were merely but portals to another dimension, and it was from there that trouble arose. In the swirling madness of that otherworldly realm, nascent beings stirred, and malign intelligences that resented the Old Ones' trespasses. Disaster came suddenly, whether due to enemy attacks or structural failure. The Old Ones' great polar gates, the means by which they traversed the stars, collapsed upon themselves. The eldritch machineries of the gates crashed down upon the world in a burning hail of star metal. Simultaneously, the poles of the world imploded, opening rifts into the beyond. Chaos spewed forth from the spirit realm. Meteors of congealed magic, a substance known as warpstone, left weirdling contrails that set the skies aflame. The planet shuddered under thunderous impacts, with flaming meteorites burrowing deep into the world's foundation. A layer of warpstone dust was cast into the air, its mutating properties causing untold atrocities. Across the globe, the seas churned and the forest canopies shook, convulsing with grotesque growth. Where the northern gateway had once been, there now throbbed a second moon, a green satellite made of pure warpstone. The Morthly, as it was named later. Many cries were lifted to that sickly orb, as hideously twisted creatures were born, howling in their agony. As their portals collapsed, the Old Ones disappeared. Their fate, unknown. Yet the disaster could have been worse, if the Old Ones' most powerful servants, the Slann, had not staved off complete destruction by sealing much of the rent in reality in expense for half of their numbers. Despite this monumental sacrifice, however, the Slann could only shrink the gap. They could neither close it nor stem the tide of magical energy that swept the planet. The Old Ones were gone, and the lizard men and the fledgling races were now abandoned before a new and diabolical foe. After the disappearance of the Old Ones, the Slann withdrew into their own cerebral worlds. The skink priests, the most intelligent of their kind, became the temporal leaders of the lizardmen. It was their ceaseless industry that restored the temple cities, rebuilding everything for which they had architectural plans. But it was all for naught, as century passes, and the lizardmen, once the world's most advanced civilization, regressed to a primitive state. The Old Ones became a distant gods, lost to the other races. Thank you. That concludes this time's reading. Hope you enjoys it, and be sure to check out the other Warhammer lore I am reading to you. Bye.